So Healthy Gamer GG, aka Dr. K, is a medical doctor of public health. And he recently made a video on why therapy is just not useful for men. And we're going to dive into some of the main points of the video.
What we need to understand is that the majority of patients in the history of psychotherapy have been women. About 60 to 70% of patients today who engage in psychotherapy are women. The other thing is that about 60 to 70% of therapists today are actually women. So I think what happened early on in psychiatry or psychotherapy is that the majority of people we were helping were women. And so when me as a doctor, when I look at 10 of my patients and I see, okay, so it looks like talking to people about their feelings on average is the most successful thing that I can do.
It does make sense that 60-70% of talk therapy patients are women because there's been a stigma behind therapy for so long. And most of the time, us men have a really difficult time of expressing our emotions. You have to do a lot of work. There's a lot of work behind expressing your emotions in the right way. He's actually right. Like, it makes sense that most of the women that I've talked to, whether at work or through friendships and things like that, they are very open to discuss that they go to therapy or have been to therapy, versus men or other men, especially young men, they refuse, especially young men and older men actually, refuse to either talk about it even if they're in it, or they just don't see it useful.
And that a lot of men are actually diagnosed with what we call externalizing disorders. Things like addictions or sociopathy or antisocial personality disorder. So these are disorders that involve behaviors. So I think they're sort of cluing us in on a really important idea, which is that when men feel something, they act on it as opposed to articulate it or talk about it. And if we tunnel down into a little bit about how men deal with their emotions, we'll kind of see that this is true in general as well.
Well, speaking from experience, that is very true what Dr. K is saying here. As a man, and as a man who has done a lot of men's work, worked with young men, worked with boys in the past, there's something about children, especially if you see young boys, it's really hard for them to express their frustration. They usually use physicality to express it. And that kind of follows us into adulthood, especially if your parents, they just didn't do a good job. No parent is perfect, but it's where we get most of our externalized disorders. And it's just simply the fact that we are more physical in many ways because of the testosterone that's in our body. And that allows us to be more action oriented when it comes to these things. And most of the time, think about it. When you break up with somebody, what do they say? What do your boys say if you're a man? They say, go to hit the gym, bro. Get fit, bro. It's usually some kind of physical act versus like, hey, let's sit, let's talk about it. That's usually not the case.
If you're a man, is fix the problem, right? So if kids make fun of me for being fat, I'm supposed to lose weight, get ripped, learn martial arts, and the next time they talk, I'm going to teach them who's boss.
Just what I was talking about. Just it's us showing a sense of redemption. Something bad happens as us. You look at it in movies. I love to watch anime. You see it in anime a lot, where the main character will have a great defeat, even though they think they may be powerful enough to take on this foe, and then they have a sense of a redemption arc. And that's what us men go through. It's us experiencing our own hero's journey. That's how I like to see it too. And it's good that a doctor is talking about it in a very factual way and very much from experience.
And so if you sort of think about it, the solution to an internal feeling ashamed, is to take an action and change the circumstances that make me feel that way. If I'm feeling ashamed because I don't have a job and I don't have any money, what should I do about that?
And it is a societal thing, but it's hard to really understand because it's been happening for so long. Most of the time, when we're told to fix our problems, it's more of like, hey, you just have to get up and do it versus sitting in your wallow.
Communicate differently is the negative expression of a positive affection. So when we like someone and we're proud of one of our homies or our bros, we don't say that to them, right? In fact, what we do is we kind of dog them about it. If my friend has been single for a while after a bad breakup and starts dating someone else, and I feel really proud and good about that, I don't say, hey friend, I'm really proud of you, and I'm proud that you've been able to find someone who sees the lovable qualities within you that I see. I'm proud that you found someone who treats you the way that I think you deserve to be treated, who loves you for who you are in the way that I love you for who you are. In the history of humanity, I do not think that sequence of words has ever been spoken by a single man. That's not what we say. What do we say? We say, bruh, GG noob, you're whipped. I guess we'll never see you again. And we're smiling the whole time. We're not like, why don't you text me anymore? I know you haven't been texting me. I feel hurt. Instead, what we do is we actually dog on this guy, right? We're like, we call him whipped and we call him a wuss and we call him, like, we say all these negative things.
Yeah, it's so funny. Growing up, I had that experience where I used to be made fun of if something good happened, whether I got a good grade on a test or I met a girl, my first girlfriend when I was 15 and first time I had sex, these things that your friends would kind of knock you on it. Like, oh, you were the last one, like to have sex. You're such a nerd or whatever the case may be. But really, they were really happy for you. They would like tap you, give you a hug, pound you, whatever. And that's just how us boys do it. Like, I still do it to my guys to this day. We do both now, though. We'll make fun of each other for a bit, but at the end, we'll be like, dude, I'm really proud of what you've done and what you've accomplished. So there's a sense of healthy masculinity there, but also making sure that they hear all the fun stuff as well.
Because of the way that we've been taught about our emotions. The last thing to consider is that when it comes to emotional health, men are very physical with it. So even if I ask a dude, hey, like, it sounds like you got dumped, tell me a little bit about how you feel. The dude may not be able to say, I feel unlovable. I'm full of fear that perhaps I won't be able to find a partner. I'm afraid that I'm fundamentally broken in some way that precludes me and maybe destines me to be alone for the rest of my life. That's not what dudes say. What dudes say is it felt like she ripped my heart out. It felt like she stomped on my balls. And if you say that as a dude, the other dudes will know exactly what you mean, right? Like, we all know, like, oh man, like, oh, it's not just ripped your heart out, it's also a stomp on the balls. I felt that, man. The last time I got dumped, I found out my partner was cheating on me. Felt like she kicked me in the nuts, dude. I know exactly how you feel. That's how we talk. We're very physical in nature. The other thing is, if you talk to men about who support each other, right, and they say, if you get dumped, what's the first thing you should do? Hit the gym, baby. And that's where we may assume that this relates to confidence, that if you start working out, you get buffed and you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, I'm so sexy. But we don't even acknowledge for a moment that there may be a physiological aspect to improve your mood. And one of the biggest mistakes that I think we've made in the field of psychotherapy is that we've separated out the mind from the body.
This is so true. In all the books that I've read over the last few years, especially when it comes to psychotherapy, health, and the body, since that's literally what I do as a transformational coaching, is that like body keeps the score. Energy is stored within the body. It needs to be released. And this is not only for men, this is also for women, but more so for men because we don't have most of us still don't have that outlet to know how to express our emotions in a healthy manner. So we have a really hard time talking about it. So we use physicality instead. And the fact that science is finally catching up and hopefully find the right therapist, they can look at both things. How are you feeling in your body and how you talk about your emotions and what is going on in your body. There's meditations for it that you can see, like, how is your body feeling. This is why I love doing things like yoga. Even though I do jujitsu, and those things are great to get a lot of frustration out, I feel like yoga allows me to get into my body, feel where I'm just not, where I need to heal more or maybe focus more when I'm stretching, right? Like, I have a bad shoulder because of jujitsu, and I didn't really think about it until I sat down and I was all busy and just moving around and just like erratic because there's just life right now. I think that time to sit down and relax and ponder and contemplate on how my body is right now in this space. Really important for you. It's good. The body keeps the score, is understanding your emotions and getting out of that. Not getting out of the emotion, but allowing it to flow through your body and getting out in a healthy way so that it doesn't live there. And then 20, 30 years from now, you start experiencing negative effects from that emotion, because emotion's energy in motion. When energy gets stuck, what do you think is going to happen? Think of water that sits too long in one place. You shouldn't drink it because it goes really bad. The same with the energy that sits in your body. So that's about 10 minutes in the video. The whole video is linked in the description below, so you can watch the whole thing if you feel the need to. But towards the end, he kind of switches on why really men should still go to therapy. And he uses the fact that it's evidence-based. It does work, even though majority of those patients are women. There's just small amount of men that do go. It does work for them, but there's no one size fits all. Therapy is only good if you give it a try. He recommends checking with 3 different therapists to kind of see which one you vibe with and make sure that you get the support necessary. You have to be honest and very transparent with your therapist. Ask them the right questions, tell them when something's not working, provide them with feedback. You have to step into your masculinity and tell them, like, hey, what we've been doing hasn't been working. Can we try something else? But what's great about therapy, and I've done therapy myself, is the tools that it provides. Most of my therapy and the most useful parts of therapy I've done on my own, whether that's through my own fitness journey, whether that's through the books that I've read and the exercises that those books included, whether that's through meeting people just throughout my life and talking to them about the things that they do and the other modalities of health that they take, for telling them what works for their mind. And I think that's important. At the end of the day, try therapy out if you haven't. Yes, it might have a stigma. You don't have to tell nobody. You can do it, figure out what's going on in here, what's going on in here, what's going on in here, and have a better understanding of yourself with a third party who can look at you from a third person perspective, something that's really difficult for us to do because we see ourselves as the center of the world, regardless if you think so or not. It's just a human experience. Also, make sure, as Dr. K says it in the video, and I've been saying this for years, you have to do something physical outside of just weight training, right? I like to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yoga. There's other means of finding some physical component to your own mental health journey. And not only that, but I highly recommend joining a group of men. There's a lot of men's groups out there that can really support you in your journey of being a man in this world where we don't no longer have a community of men to go out and hunt with. Instead, we have to find that community, go out into the woods, and really enjoy the time together. And I've done that before. I've gone on a retreat with about 6 guys in the past where we went up to upstate New York into a cabin for 3 days. We wrestled, we did breathing techniques, we ran out in the coldness of New York City. Well, New York, greater New York, if you want, greater New York, and enjoyed the cold just in our boxers and yelled at the top of our lungs. And we took care of each other. Some guys even cried through like speaking circles and doing certain exercises together, but also just having a great time sitting at the table together, eating meat and potatoes. And it was a wonderful experience. I felt so full for so long after that. And that's something that we need as men. Yes, therapy may suck for some men, not for everybody, but if you put a physical component to it, it can be very useful for you to do therapy and do something physical at the same time. So let me know what you think about this video. If you have never heard of Healthy Gamer, go comment in his video, say hello for us here at Ruben Ponders, and I'll see y'all next time.